Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of From the Heart. I'm your host, Chloe Trca, and this is a podcast where we talk about all things life as a girl in your 20s, motivation, wellness, fitness, nutrition, mindset, a little bit of my faith, honestly anything I go through. It's called From the Heart because I speak from my heart and I pretty much just share whatever is going on in my life, and I try to use my own experiences to teach you guys and give you guys wisdom and knowledge, and some inspiration and advice, and honestly, whatever I can give you guys through my own experience. That's what we do here on the podcast, and I'm so glad you're here. This week's episode, I'm so excited for you guys. I haven't done a solo episode in 2 weeks now because I had my friend Matt Zayla on the last 2 weeks. It was part one, part two, because it was kind of a long episode, and I feel like you guys enjoy when I split the long episodes up just because I know it can get long. So I had a few requests for that. So that's why I did the part one, part two. Let me know how you guys liked that. But I took so much away from the episode. If you haven't yet listened, definitely recommend. I have really been sitting on a lot of that stuff we talked about the past couple weeks and already been making changes in my life. And I'm so proud of myself for it because it's been so helpful and honestly life-changing. Not even being dramatic either. But again, too, I talk about it a lot on here. I talk about it a lot in my content, and you've probably heard it before from other people. But the people in your life, your environment is so powerful, and that's why it's so important to have the right people in your life. I always like having people who are 2 steps ahead of me so I can, work towards that and have that inspiration and aspire to be like them, and for them to teach me and lead me and guide me through their own journeys, and people at my own pace, and maybe a few people behind you that you can also lead yourself. It's good to have variety, but make sure you have those people in your life that you do aspire to be similar to, not maybe just but Matt Zayla, he ran a 100-mile ultramarathon. That is insane. That is very, very mind-boggling to me because I'm running 13 miles, but because of him and our conversation, my 13 miles seems so doable. Not that it wasn't I'm not proud of myself for it, and I don't feel it's not impressive and it's not an accomplishment, but having people who are just setting the bar so high encourages me and motivates me to want to work harder. And it kind of makes that seem like a much simpler task, and that's good for my mindset because this whole episode, you guys, is going to be about self-limitations and self-limiting beliefs because it's something I struggle with, and I think I just am now realizing how much of an impact it's been making on my life and how much I've been limiting my own self in a lot of areas of my life. So I'm excited. I have notes. I don't usually have notes because I say I speak from the heart, but these notes came from the heart this week because I had a lot I wanted to touch on and make sure I touched on all of it. And I'm really excited because, you guys, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. Like I said, I'm fresh off of 2 weeks of not sitting down and just chatting with you guys. I love this so much. Solo episodes are my favorite because I just chat forever. But I feel like I've learned so much these last 2 weeks. I have so much to share, and I'm fresh on my cycle, day one, which a lot of people I feel think is the worst day, but I always feel so good. I'm revived. I'm a new person out of the luteal phase. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling fun. I'm feeling fresh. So we're going to get into this episode. Anyway, like I said, this is going to be titled, You Are Your Own Limitation. Not anything groundbreaking. You've probably heard this before, but a lot of this stuff, you guys, this is good stuff, good reminders if you've heard it before, or if you haven't. I have learned all these things about myself and truly began to understand them. And I think that's one thing too in life, that you hear a lot of these quotes and these sayings, and it's yeah, and you understand it kind of, and you're yeah, I agree with that, but you don't understand it on an experiential level. You haven't went through something to be wow, I really resonate with that. That makes sense. I feel that's the cool thing about aging and just growing in your own wisdom is things in life make more sense. They really stick. They hit different. And I think that's why it's cool to reread books and re-listen to podcasts and rewatch movies. You always catch something different. You catch something new. It can sit with you differently. And you just take something new from it every single time. And so a lot of these things I'm talking about, it's things I've known for a while, but it's settling so different in a much more impactful way. So I'm excited to kind of break it down on more of the level that I guess comprehend now. But it's just funny because I think a lot of times everyone's you're your own biggest critic or you're your own biggest obstacle, but truly you are, because no one else in life is going to do anything for you. No one is going to care as much for you as you will. No one wants something as bad for you as you want it for yourself. And that's your goals. That's anything you aspire to accomplish in your life, whether it's business, a monetary goal, or like a position goal within your company, or starting your own business, like no one's gonna want that, promotion as bad as you want that for yourself. And no one's gonna want you to go accomplish a marathon more than you want that for yourself. And I think a lot of times, depending on the crowd of people we're in, we can be more encouraged for those goals, or we can be kind of, maybe even praised for those goals more than we should be. And there's a difference between like encouragement and praise. And I think I kind of got myself into an environment of people for a while that everyone was like, wow, 13 miles, like go you, that's amazing. And it is. And I'm not discrediting myself for that or anyone doing that. But it's like now I'm in an environment of people who are running 26 miles, 50 miles, 100 miles. Like they're doing all these really crazy things. And it encourages me more now, because I think there's a point where when we accomplish something, we kind of get satisfied and we settle, and then we feel contentment. And I don't think it's bad to, be happy with life and be proud of your accomplishments. But I think there's something in us just as our human being, like the way we were created, we always want to be working towards something. And that's how I feel honestly the most fulfilled, and I'm the most confident when I'm working towards something, because while I'm working towards something new, again, it's something new. So these are this is an uncharted territory. These are goals. These are experiences and situations I've never put myself in. So when I do put myself in that new situation and I do that thing, I get that thing done, I accomplish it, it builds a level of confidence in myself and being like, wow, like I did that. And I become, it's different. It's a different sense of pride, but it's just like, I don't know. It's a humble pride, It's like, okay, I did that. And it makes you want to continue to push yourself and challenge yourself more. So back to what I was saying is like having those people in your life, like I said, having that conversation with Matt, him running 100 miles encourages me. Like I have Boulderthon. I have a half marathon next weekend, like a little over a week from now. And I was so in my head before this, like literally on this trip to Oregon, the first few days I was on a run with Kyler, and I kind of had a mental breakdown, and I was really doubting myself, and I was limiting myself. And this was just such a perfect example of my own limitations, and it really opened my own eyes, because then I was having this conversation with Matt and I was like, dang, okay. But I was telling Kyler, I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. Like this is so hard. My training has not been right. I have not held myself to the level of accountability that I have in the past for half marathons. I think I got too comfortable. That's a key word, comfortable, because I've ran 3, 4 I've ran 3 like races, half marathon races, and then 1 just like half marathon distance on my own for fun. Otherwise I usually run like 8 to 10 miles for my long runs. But I've done it 4 times in the past, and it's like, okay, like I know I can do it. So I'm not as nervous. But now that it's getting closer, I'm realizing the training kind of slipped. And training is where you create that evidence, and it's where you have that trust in yourself and that confidence in your training to know you can accomplish that thing. Well, it's getting down to the line, and I'm a little nervous because I'm the person who I trust in my training, less trust in myself to just rip it on race day. Like I am an anxious person. I will question myself and I will doubt myself, and that's something I'm working on, but I'm being honest, and that's just what I'm aware of. And so it's like one of my coaches told me back in track, and he's like, trust in your training. You can do this, because it's like I didn't believe in myself, but I believed in my training, if that makes sense. And I'm working on believing in myself, and I'm working on creating situations where I have to push myself, so I know I can push myself. And I think I'm scared because I know myself and I don't push myself enough in those like make or break situations, like a race day. Anyway, wow, I'm telling you, this is going to be loaded podcast, probably going to be longer for a solo episode. But I just honestly, I think I've like settled with comfortability and knowing I can accomplish like these things. So I'm going to stick to what I know. Not necessarily always a bad thing, but for personal growth and for like building confidence and building the evidence bank of ability in yourself, it's important to be trying new things. It's important to push yourself. And even if it's like you love running and you're like, I don't want to try yoga, I don't want to try hiking, I don't want to like try something new, you can still like push yourself in that same area. So it's like, okay, at first a goal was I want to run a 5K, and then that 5K led into a 10K, and that 10K led into a half marathon, and now you're like, okay, I'm a runner. And then it's like you run a marathon. I feel like it's a progressive thing because you start to unlock these new levels of yourself. It makes sense why people don't just jump from like nothing to a marathon. They kind of naturally ease their way into it, because it gets addicting and you realize what you truly are capable of. But it's like once you cap out, then it like cap out on distance, for example, then that's when people start to like focus on pacing and goals and speed work and stuff like that. And I think that's where I'm kind of in that limbo, because I know where I'm at. I can run 13 miles. Have I ran a full marathon? No, I haven't. And have I been scared? Yeah. Have I made a lot of excuses and reasons as to why I don't want to run one? Yeah. And I'm kind of settling with myself and thinking about it and praying on it, of being like, is that me scared? Is that me having a self-limiting belief because I don't want to go through the training? I don't want to go through the pain. Or I guess it's more so there's like two ways, and I don't know where I'm at. I don't know if I'm scared to put myself in that position on race day to go run 26 miles, because the thing is, I know I could do it. I know I would follow the training regimen to a T. So I don't know if I'm scared to be in pain. But the thing is, like, pain is temporary. Pain is beauty. Like, there is beauty in pain. But I think the other side is like, I don't know if I just genuinely don't want to do it. Like, I don't find fulfillment and enjoyment, I guess, in running 20 miles. Like, I don't know if I would really love that. And I do like where I'm at. So it's like, I'm teeter-tottering. I'm going back and forth, and I'm still in this limbo and this confusion of like, am I scared, or do I genuinely not want to do it just because I don't have any desire? And I don't know, and I'm figuring that out right now. But right now I'm focusing on what's next, and that's my Boulder half marathon. And I am facing a new challenge in that, and that's running in altitude. That's running with mountains. And I think that's getting in my head because it's an unknown. It's an uncharted territory. It's unmarked. I didn't have the ability to train in the altitude that I'll be running in. So it's going to be new on race day. I don't know how it's going to go. But Matt said this one thing, and it really stuck with me. And he was like, I towed up on like race day and I set a goal, and I didn't know if I was going to finish it, but I knew I was going to find out in a few hours. And I was like, you know what? Like, wow. Like, everyone feels like that on race day. Everyone's towing up the line being like, I don't know if I can rip this goal. I hope I can. I've trained, I've done my best. I put myself in the best position possible to accomplish this goal. If you've followed the training regimen, you've done everything you can. But like, I don't know. But the thing is, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? That's what I have to circle back to and ask myself, is like, what's the worst thing that can happen? What's the biggest consequence? If I do fail, I know I'm going to be fine. It might suffer. I might suffer extra, and it might hurt a little more because the breathing's going to be harder. Maybe my times won't be as great, but like, it's a new challenge, so I can have new expectations. But it's like, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? I pass out during the race and I can't finish. Big whoop. It probably happens to a lot of participants, honestly. Like, that's kind of a normal, like, a common thing for people in races, to cramp and not be able to finish, to pass out. Like, a lot of people do not finish, and that's okay. But the thing is, it's only okay if you're pushing yourself to like your maximum potential. And I was like, wow, I think I've been so scared to fail because it's unknown. It's uncharted territory. I can't train for a failure situation. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, I need to put myself in positions in training that create more potential opportunities and outcomes. And I talk with my client a lot with her training, and I was like, you know what? Bad runs prep you for the knowledge and experience to run on a bad day. Like, some runs just feel like crap, but like, I still hold myself to the same standard when I have those days, because it's like, if it comes to race day and I feel like crap, I know I can still run feeling like crap on race day. And so it's like, you got to find the beauty in a lot of that stuff. But again, like I said, this whole marathon situation, I don't know if it's like genuinely just like I'm not interested in doing that, because I've been kind of burnt out on running. But I know it would put me in a position where I would have to be in uncharted territory and really push myself and do something different. So I definitely know I want to push myself more. I don't know if I want to try high rocks and train for something like that different, or if I want to start doing more speed and just focusing on half marathons but getting faster. I don't know if I want to leap and jump and bound into a full marathon. I don't know what's next, but I'm telling you guys, and I'm being honest, I'm like thinking about it and I'm praying about it, and I'm going to figure it out, because I'm not going to be satisfied. I'm not just going to go easy on myself after this half and just quit like training for something. Because I've really realized how impactful it is in my life to have that. But back to what I was saying, back to my notes, because we're only at the first dot. None of that was even in my notes that I just talked about. But like I said, often we talk about self-limiting beliefs, but I don't think we actually analyze them. Like, sit right now, you guys, pause this episode if you need to. Think about a self-limiting belief that you probably have for yourself. Whether it's like, I'm not built for that. I used to think I wasn't built to be a distance runner. Well, now I can run 13 miles and I could probably run 26 in the future. Like, I am built for that. You have to believe it to be true. But like, there's so many limiting beliefs that we have in our life of whatever you want to become, just say that you are that and you will become that. But I don't know. There's a lot of things I think I can just attribute myself to, or I just identify as, rather than I can just flip the narrative. It's that simple. Like, I'm not a distance runner. I wasn't built for that. Or I am a distance runner. I can become that. It's all about the belief in yourself and how you label yourself. And then the other thing is, I found that there's a way to find an excuse for everything. Like I said, for that full marathon, I've multiple times came on here, I made a TikTok about it saying why I would never run one. And now I look back at it and I'm like, were those excuses to validate my feelings because I feel guilty for not running a full marathon? Or were they valid and were they true? And the thing is, when I filmed it, my heart posture was there. Like, I genuinely meant what I was saying. But now I look back and I'm like, was I just scared? I don't know. I still don't know right now. So that's what I'm working through. But there will be excuses. You will be able to find an excuse for anything to validate your fears and validate your feelings. For example, excuses I've made up in the past is like, I'm a female, so I don't need to go as intense, or I need to be kinder to myself. And that's true. I made a whole episode on feminism and being softer and living softer, and I love it. And that is something that I kind of counter back to, that I'm like, okay, for my body, for my actual overall wellness and health and well-being, is this a smart move for me to make? And I need to be more logistical and more data-driven rather than more feeling-driven. And I think that's what I need to like write down. Like, literally, my mom always says make a T-bar. I think I need to make a T-bar of like excuses I have that are based on my feelings and excuses that are like data, legit, factual, and then look at it and just be like, okay, the proof's right there. So try that. That's actually a really good way to kind of analyze it. And I think that's what I'm going to do for myself. Well, I know I'm going to do that for myself. Another excuse I make, though, is like my time or the balance in my life and my goals and what I want in this season right now compared to another season in life. Like I said, get rid of the excuses that are based upon feelings and emotions and make actual observations based on factual things, like your literal health and your literal like numbers, like your blood work numbers, and break down your time commitment. Like, you can, though, make time for anything you want to make time for. It might take more sacrifice and it might take more grit and it might take more hard work. But again, ask yourself and really analyze it and make a very smart decision, but ultimately, what makes me feel best is becoming my best. And I've really realized that. I've noticed a difference in my mood and my confidence in myself when I have something to train for and when I'm putting myself in situations where I'm unlocking new levels. Like, I feel like I was the happiest, most confident version of myself when I first was training for my first half marathon, because that was the first experience I'd had in a while where I was in a lot of uncharted territory, when I had to do a lot of things that scared me, when it was all me versus me. It was very mental. That's when I fell in love with running, because I think I fell in love with the process of pushing myself. I think it was less of running, because truly, take it or leave it running. Like, I do enjoy it, but I don't think I have like a burning passion for it like some people, but I do have like a burning passion. And I think everyone does deep down have that burning passion of like self-development and continuing to become a better version of yourself. And that was like a big season of my life where I experienced a lot of that, and it was very fulfilling, and I felt very confident in myself, and it gave me that hunger for more, and I'm really glad it did. So I need to find more opportunities in different areas of my life, not even just fitness, to experience that, because I think a lot of times I only look to fitness for that, and fitness is a passion and a love for mine. It's part of my job. So like, I want to find other areas where I can also have that burning passion and that opportunity to do things that scare me and to be in more uncharted territory other than just within fitness. But fitness is a great, very broad way to do that for a lot of people who are beginning in those like experiences. But like I said, something that was huge that I took away from Matt that he was talking about was learning to create evidence to fall back on. And that's why it's so important to put yourself in positions to learn and to experience things and to experience hard things, especially if you're training for something specific or you're working towards a specific goal. You need to be putting yourself in mini versions of that along the way. So like one thing I had my client do before her first race was I was like literally mimic, and I learned this from one of my track coaches. I was like, mimic exactly what race day will be like so you can be conditioned and you know what to expect. It's not nothing new. As much like you want to be as prepared as you can be, because failing to prepare is preparing to fail. So be as prepared as you can. And I was like, mimic what you'll eat, what time you'll wake up, the warm up you'll do, what you'll wear, like mimic everything as close to what race day will feel like as possible. Because like I said, that is creating the evidence to fall back on and be like, oh, I did it that one day, I can do it again. I use this in so many areas of my life, it's not even funny. So when Matt was saying this, I'm like, dang, like I need to be creating more evidence in like race-like situations. Or right now my main focus is running, but like I said, there can be so many other chances to do this in different areas, with whether that's business or friendships, relationships, other hobbies that you have. But having that evidence is that ability to rely to yourself, and it's that easier way of believing in yourself, because it's like, okay, I did it once, I'll do it again. Like already unlocked, that level is already there. So it's important when you have like one day to shine, to kind of already have that accomplished, and I don't know, I just think because it's easy to doubt yourself when it's an unknown area, because there is no proof, there is no evidence, and you're going to create that evidence right there. So there's just going to be a lot more unknown there. I feel like there's going to be a lot more anxiety and a lot more stress when you don't have that evidence bank. But the thing is too, like I said, I'm training for a half marathon. I never actually run a half marathon throughout my training, but I put myself in a lot of similar situations. And I remind myself of this throughout my training, because training is meant to be hard. Training is meant to prepare you for pretty much anything. And so it's like I said, the bad runs are preparing you in case you feel bad on race day, to still know that you can run not feeling 100%. But like for me, a couple workouts that I did this week, I like to break down running as like 3 mile increments, because I've created that evidence and I'm to a point in my training where I know I can run 3 miles no matter what. 3 miles is like easy, which I know it's not for everyone, because not everyone's to that point in their journey with running. But for me, 3 miles is like that sweet spot where I'm like, I could probably be borderline sick and still go rip a 3 mile. I just know I can do it. Okay. Again, though, everyone's number could be different. Some people's is 10. Some people's is 10. Nathan French is like a hybrid athlete content creator. He was running an ultra, 100-mile run. He did 10 miles every single day. It makes sense why he did that, because I can guarantee you he broke his race up into 10 miles. So for me, when I'm running, it's like, okay, I break it up by 3, 3, 3, and 3. Essentially, half marathon's a little more than that, but it's like 4 3-mile runs and then a 1 mile cool down is kind of how I picture it. But it's not a cool down. It's actually like your like hardest mile. But I get through the first one, and that's like my warm up, my like kind of break into it. And then I'm like, okay, just a 3 more mile run. At that point, I'm halfway through a half marathon. And then it's like, okay, 3 more miles. Like you're in pain, but no matter what, it doesn't matter. Like you can run 3 miles on pain, in pain. So I rip 6 to 9. And then by 9, it's like, oh, I'm on my last 3 miles. And easily, like, it just becomes so much more achievable, because so much more realistic and reasonable, and you actually see the light at the end of the tunnel when you're there, and like the last block. That's why I love breaking it up, because I'm like, okay, I'm in pain at mile 9 typically. 9 to 12 is like the harder part of the race, but in my brain I'm like, okay, it's just 3 miles. Like I can do that easily. And so I run those 3 miles, and then you're already to mile 12, and then 12 to 13 is like the fun run. It's like the fun mile. You kind of rip it and you give it your all, and it's like, woo, and the endorphins are rushing and it's fun. But that's how I break it up, because I have evidence that I can run 3 miles easily. Again, Nathan French's was 10, but I guarantee you that's why he ran 10 miles every single day, because that's nowhere near 100 miles, but he knows he can easily rip 10 miles no matter what. So he broke it down into 10-mile increments. So create that evidence, because it will give you confidence. And another thing is like, learn from your mistakes. The thing is, in training, like you're gonna mess up, you're gonna make mistakes when it's nervous and you're like, I don't know if I can do this. Try it anyways. Give it a try, because one, you probably are much more capable than you think. You probably can do it, but you're doubting because you just never have done it. So you don't actually know. But the thing is, you're going to be so happy and feel so accomplished once you do it. And then it's like, okay, it's not going to be as scary next time I do this. Or the more you do things that scare you, the more comfortable you are going for it the next time. And I've really realized that this week. I have been pushing myself and doing things uncomfortable all week, and it's made it a little easier every single time. And these things are in different areas of my life. I'll give examples later on, but learn from your mistakes, because truly I don't make enough mistakes, because in the past, like I said, I'm just learning this kind of about myself recent, but I hate failing. I don't think many people probably enjoy it and love it, because it's not fun necessarily in the moment. But the thing is, you learn so much from it. And it's honestly, when you fail, you're creating a different evidence bank though. And you're like, okay, well, that didn't work, so I know not to do that again. Gives you evidence and gives you kind of confidence of being like, okay, stay away from that. But maybe it'll work if I actually make this correction and this fix. And then it kind of encourages you for the next time around. Don't fear failure and don't be scared of it. Kind of get excited when you fail, because it's such an opportunity to learn and to get it better the next time, get it right the next time. But another thing that I do in these moments where I'm like doubting myself and I'm limiting myself, I turn to God a lot. I honestly turn to God for like everything. I pray about everything I'm struggling in my life. And one of my prayers right now is to have God build my confidence, and encourage me to want to be put into positions where I can push myself harder. Because God will answer your prayers. And I'm telling you, it's scary to pray for things, because it's like God will deliver and it's going to be hard. It's not going to be like rainbows, sunshines, and butterflies. And he's not just going to get you to the end goal. He's going to test you and kind of like trial you through it until you reach that prayer, and like till that prayer is like answered. But he has to like prepare you for that. And so when I'm like, Lord, like allow me to, stop having these like self-limiting beliefs and self-sabotaging thoughts and self-limitations, well, imagine how he's probably going to test me. He's going to be putting me into positions that are hard and scary that I don't know if I can do it, but it's going to be creating that evidence bank, like I said. So praying about something is kind of like allowing God to pave that path, because sometimes, again, I don't trust my own self, because I'm like, I get scared sometimes. And so it's like, surrendering it to God is kind of being like, God, I know I probably won't do it myself, but I know you will, and like then it's gonna happen. So that's kind of what I fall back on, is God. And again too, another thing that's really, really weighed on me in a good way though is when I'm doing things, I don't necessarily do them for myself, I do them for God. And I'm like, God has equipped me and gifted me with all of these things about myself, all of these different talents and skills and experiences. And I'm like, what if I'm limiting myself and I'm letting God down? Like, he's put me through all of these positions. He's gifted me with all of this. Why would I not try my best? And why would I not try to utilize my gifts as to the highest potential that I can? I want to honor God in that. And like, that's one of those things that I've heard people talk about for years, but it's never like resonated with me so much. And I'm like, I truly like want to utilize the gifts God has given me. And I think I have been limiting myself because I'm scared, to, go through the grind and go through the hurt and go through the pain and go through the suffering to accomplish those. But I have fall back on, I always say, like, God won't bring you to anything he can't get you through. So I know any door that's open, any opportunity, any position, any start line that I'm placed in, I will be able to accomplish it because God put me there and he will get me through it. And again, too, like, if you're not a believer, do it for someone else too, like a friend, a family member, a significant other, your past younger self. Like, do it for them, because it's so much more encouraging and so much more fulfilling to do things for others. And for me, it's truly God. And you guys are second to God. Sorry, God's number one always, but like, you guys are my other motivator and my other reminder, and that extra, to get me out of bed and go on the long run and do the things, because I'm like, whatever I learn from this, I can share with others. So no, you guys have the power to do that. Whether or not you're a content creator, you have your own podcast, like, you still touch so many people's lives in your day to day, and you can inspire so many people. I always say, like, we have so many silent watchers, silent viewers, silent followers, like, in your life. So many people are watching you, and so many people look up to you more than you realize. Because a lot of people, like, I'm guilty of it. Like, I don't necessarily reach out and message every single person that I look up to. Like, Nathan French has no idea I'm talking about him in my podcast right now. But, like, I look up to him and I aspire to, do some of the stuff he's done. But it's like, I've never told him that. So imagine how many people are looking up to you and aspiring to be like you, but you just don't know because they don't tell you. So one, take two things from that. I encourage you to tell those people that more often. And two, understand like you're inspiring so many more people than you realize, whether that's in work, in church, in your relationship even. Maybe you have a really healthy, positive relationship and people look up to that. Even the way you take care of yourself or carry yourself, like there can be so many different reasons someone looks up to you. But when you're doing these things, remember you have those people. And yeah, so again, God and you guys are really truly my like inspiration and my motivation behind a lot of what I do. And I have to remind myself of that in those hard moments. But like I said, create these evidence banks and find opportunities every single day to unlock a new level of yourself, a new version of yourself. For example, today, literally, because I said I've been working on this, I was in the gym, and it's funny, one of my best friends, Nikki Font, she has a company and a brand, it's called Today, and it's a very specific logo, and I saw someone in my Scottsdale gym wearing that, and I was like, and she's out of Orange County, and it's a smaller, like, it's her own small business, like, it's not a nationwide, a Gymshark and Alphalete yet. Will be one day, but it's not there yet. And so I was like, whoa, like it took me by surprise seeing her hat there. So I texted her, I'm like, oh my gosh, someone's wearing your hat in my gym. Crazy. And we were like chatting and stuff. And I was like trying to get a picture or video, but I felt bad. So I'm like, he doesn't know I'm videoing him and filming him. So I like was texting her. I'm like, I should just go up to him. And cause she's like, I think it might be this guy. And she's like, go talk to him. And so I was so scared. And old Chloe would have been like, just snapped a pic, sent it to Nikki, and then left. But I was like, you know what? This is an opportunity to go have a conversation. It took a lot of courage because I hate going up to strangers. I'm just not that type of person, and I want to be though. So I was like, this is me creating this evidence because next time it's going to be so much easier being like, oh, I had a great interaction with that guy. Why can't I do it again? And I always love when people come up to me. So I'm like, okay, why not go talk to this guy? He looks friendly. And again, it was an easy conversation. I wanted to just like, we had a connection to Nikki, and I was like, it's a cool conversation to have, support her, whatever. And so I went up to him. You guys, I was so nervous. I was like, hi. He probably thought I was like this like scared little girl, but I asked him, I was like, do you know Nikki Font? And we started having a conversation, and turns out he's a full-time content creator who does content based around fitness and recipes and cooking. That's literally me. I'm like, I just found a cool mutual friend because of that. And I would have never met him. Now we're friends on Instagram or whatever. And it's just cool to have that person in my network. Or now I have a familiar face in the gym and I don't know a lot of people there. And so I was really proud of myself for doing that. And that was me stepping out of my comfort zone and doing something that scares me, but I knew it would be positive and probably impactful, and it was a cool thing to do for Nikki to like, chat about her company, her brand. But then I made a new friend, and it was actually his birthday. So there was a bunch of cool things about it. But that was just one example that is not necessarily within fitness. But then again, like I've been doing it in my runs this week. I was going to run 3 miles, and I was like, you know what, Chloe, no, you're going to run 7.5 because race days next week, and I want to be confident in my ability to do so. And so I was running it, and I was using my tactic of the 3 miles, and it was the first 3 miles, and then it was like 0.75, and then another 0.75, and then it was done. But each time I would increase my speed, and that was the scary thing. So I'm like, I don't know if I can maintain this pace. But then in the back of my head, I'm like, okay, one, God will allow you to do it. You can do it. And two, I was like, and if you can't, so what? At least you tried. And I gave it my all. And you know what? I did get a new speed, and I was really proud of myself. And I feel a lot better going into Boulderthon because of the training that I did and the ability to push myself like I did this week. Anyway, so I kind of want to touch on just like a few things that I tell myself and remind myself in these situations that have really been helping me this week. Because again, we have so much inner dialogue, but how we speak to ourselves is how we in turn end up acting, and how we end up acting kind of creates our own reality. And it's so powerful. Like your thoughts are so insane. And that's why these self-limiting beliefs in our head can really predict and create our reality. And so it's so important to actually just believe in yourself. Okay. Cause I believe in you. And some of these things have been really, really helpful. So I'm just going to share. So the first thing I say is it's not supposed to be easy, because you guys, it's not supposed to be easy. It's something new. It's a way to push yourself and challenge yourself. Like it's not going to be simple. It might be easy in the future once you continue to push yourself higher, but it's not meant to be easy. Like my friend said, Haley, who I had on my podcast probably a month, 2 months ago, was you don't owe yourself ease. And it's like, just accept the fact that it's going to be a challenge and it's going to be hard. But the thing is, after the fact, after I do something that's not easy, I'm like, I feel so accomplished. I feel so proud. I feel so encouraged to do something else and challenge myself again. And it's just such a good opportunity for growth. It's like kind of addicting, but you got to break off that first bit to like, get addicted. It's like chips. You got to eat if you don't eat the chips, you're not going to sit there and munch the whole bag if you just don't even have a bite. But it's like once you have one chip, it's game over. You're like, you end up having the whole half bag. So it's like, that's a weird reference, but you know what I'm saying? So it's like when you do something hard and you do something isn't going to be easy, it's kind of addicting because you kind of get a little bit of a little high off of it. You get really like excited and encouraged to do it again. And then it just feeds into the rest of your day. That's why I like working out in the mornings, because it's a great opportunity to push myself. And then it carries me through the rest of the day. Another thing that I tell myself is I would rather have it be hard now than be hard later. And this is kind of in reference to like training and with my half marathon. Like when I'm having bad runs, I'm like, you know what? I'd rather be suffering now than on race day, because I want to enjoy race day. I want race day to be fun. I want to have a good experience with it. And I work so hard to kind of celebrate. Like race day is like the celebration of all the hard work you put into training. I always say that. And so it's like, I'd rather have it be hard now than be hard on race day. And again, like even like with studying for a test, like studying's hard. Studying can be stressful and confusing, and you're going to have to spend sometimes hours researching one topic because you just don't understand it and teaching yourself. But it's like, you rather experience that difficulty than on test day, and you literally just don't know what you're doing. So that's one thing I tell myself. And another is, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? Like, what is the worst thing that's going to happen if I fail? The world's not going to end. I'm going to be fine. I promise. And honestly, like I said, you probably are going to learn something, and then it builds that evidence bank for next time. You know what not to do. You know what to do to avoid failure, at least in that area. So truly, like, failure really is never as bad as we think it's going to be. I feel like our anxiety is we always create the worst case scenario situations in our head. And that's even something I told myself in the gym today. Or no, just kidding. Actually, another experience that I had that I pushed myself this week was I had a meeting with a director at my church, because I'm starting to do like a city group with Emma, Jake's girlfriend and one of my friends. And like once a month we're going to be like leading a group where we like give back to the community and like serve. Anyway, I had to go meet with her, and I was kind of nervous, and there was an opportunity to like do it on Zoom or do it in person. And I'm kind of like a shy person. So going into the church, into the main church office was like intimidating, because I'm like, I kind of know all these people, but I don't really know these people. And this is a new environment for me. I'm not like familiar with the church. I kind of am. I'm growing, but like I've never been in a setting like this. I've never served before. And it was kind of like a meeting, not like an interview, because like it's not a job, but it kind of felt like that. And I was nervous, but I was like, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? I was like, Chloe, you're creating the worst case scenario in your head. Like, it's going to go great. These people at the church are amazing. They're so sweet. They're so kind. They're happy I'm there. Like, why would I fear that? And again, I always am like, you know what? That's the enemy trying to stop me from something good, is when he gives me anxiety in a situation where I know is going to bring joy and peace and fulfillment, period. So again, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? Another thing I tell myself is, if I'm not failing, I'm probably not trying hard enough. So if there's not times in my life where I'm failing, I need to reflect and be like, okay, why are we not failing? Like, there's probably unreached potential that we're not achieving because we're not pushing ourselves hard enough. We're not trying enough new things. We're not being courageous enough to do it. So I kind of check in with myself every now and then about that. And then I say, just try it. I tell myself that a lot. I'm like, just try it and see if there's more in the tank. So this is like in reference a lot, again, with training and running and stuff. I'll be running and I'm like, oh boy, I don't know if I can maintain this pace for half a mile or 0.75 mile, but I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna try it. I'm just gonna try it and see what happens. And it's so funny because a lot of times I don't tell myself ahead of time how fast I'm gonna go, it's like throughout the run, I'll start increasing the speed. And then I look back, I'm like, wow, like I ended up at not like speed 8 on the treadmill when I was scared to even go to 0.7, and I end up at 8. I'm like, I've been running 0.7 and up for the past mile. I'm like, okay, so I can run a mile that fast, but I would have never, probably put myself in that situation if I was like, I'm running a mile. I have to stand here on this treadmill right now and run a mile at 7 speed and finish at 8. Like knowing that in advance would intimidate me and scare me. But then if I incrementally do it, because I'm just going to try it and just see, that's kind of how I unlock that first initial level of trying something new. But then it's like, now when I go back to the gym, I know I did it once. I'm like, okay, I did that one day. So now I can do it again, knowing going into it that I can do it. So I'm like, just try it. And if I can't do it and I can't maintain it, then I'll slow down if I need to, but I'm going to see if I can. Another thing, and this is probably the biggest thing I tell myself in hard situations, especially with running, I'm like, it's easy. It's easy. Chloe, this is easy. Even if it's not, the power of your thoughts and the power of your beliefs is insane. Even if it's not easy, but you tell yourself it's easy, I swear it drops my heart rate. Like, it makes it easier just by convincing myself. I kind of like brainwash myself. I kind of, what's the word that crazy narcissistic people do? Why am I blanking? I don't know. I like manipulate myself into believing that it's easy, even if it's not, but then it really does become that reality. So again, that's proof in the pudding of what your thoughts are really do become your reality. And then another thing I like to do is I break things down into like mini goals. So kind of back to what I was saying about the 3-mile thing. I break it into like easily digestible, realistic goals, things I know I can do. So if it's like a big goal, something kind of extreme and large that I'm like really intimidated of and like I've never done before, I break it down into things I have done before to kind of lead me up to that. So like I said, I've ran 3 miles so many times, I know that's easy. So I break down a half marathon into 4 3-mile runs. Kind of seems silly, but it's something with your mind and your belief system. I'm telling you, it works. Another thing I say is I could fail, but what if, emphasis on that. I could fail, but what if I don't? And I like to think about that. And I'm like, well, what if I could do it? Like, I'm scared I can't, but what if I could? Like, what would that unlock? What would my future look like if I did do it? If I could do it? And I like to focus on that perspective now. And it's kind of being like a pessimistic or an optimistic person. And it's kind of that positive way, the glass half full perspective of being like, but what if I could? And I like to think about like how that would feel, what that would look like. And it gets me excited and it gets me wanting to do it. So, and then the last thing I always tell myself is the Lord's got my back. Like I say, he wouldn't put me to it if he couldn't get me through it. I know that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That's like one of the most said verses ever, but it's so true. And I firmly believe in that. And I have so much faith in that, that's my evidence right there. That's what I fall back on every single time when I can't get my point across to myself of like, Chloe, you can do this. I'm like, no, but God can get me through it. God can do this. And that's why I listen to worship music on my runs. That's why I listen to worship music in the car. That's why like anytime I'm going to something new and I'm nervous and I'm anxious, worship music. That's pretty much all I listen to anymore. But especially in those situations, most people probably listen to like screamo, hard rock, crazy music when they're working out. I listen to worship music because it's so encouraging and it reminds me that when I doubt myself, God's got my back. I might not be able to do it, but he can. He'll get me through it. He'll equip me exactly how I need to be equipped to accomplish it. But again, we have free will, and if we're not taking up those opportunities that he's putting in our path, then that's when you might fail. So it's like you have to be very observant to the opportunities God places in your life and take advantage of those. And sometimes they're going to be scary and they're going to be hard and you're not going to want to, but trust in his plan and you will accomplish it. So all in all, you guys, like something I've really just, again, this is one of those things that I'm like, I've heard it before, but it's really resonating with me now is quite literally anything's achievable with the right steps, habits, and actions made. Like anything's achievable if you just start training correctly. You start making the right steps and taking the right action and, creating the habits that you need to have to accomplish that. But like, you can do it. It's just going to take time. It's going to take patience. It's going to take hard work, but like someone out there has did it, and it's not like they had to, have all their first experiences with it. They had to train for it. Like they couldn't just one day wake up and do it. They had to, get to that point. So it's like, why can't you? And with that though, there's no perfect path. There's no one right way. I think, especially with social media and like even influencing and like having role models and stuff, it's like you want to mimic exactly what these people are doing, but we're also individual. God made all of us uniquely for a reason. So we're all going to have unique paths getting there and unique experiences. We all have different gifts and different strengths and different abilities. Hone into those. Hone into what God gifted you and utilize that to get there. You can use other people as kind of like a broad path, a broad spectrum, but like don't try someone's 5-step rule to accomplish this, and if it doesn't work for you, be like, oh, I can't do that. No, pivot, reroute, really step back and analyze how you could do it and how your gifts could make that easier to accomplish, and then go your way. I think that I feel like we've just really kind of created this persona that there's like one perfect route for everything, and there's just truly not. It's so dependent on who you are, and everyone's so different. Like, none of us are alike, exactly alike, and so don't be discouraged if one way doesn't work, even though it worked for somebody else. I think that's kind of the fun and the beauty and the journey, is like kind of learning about yourself and unlocking different things and finding what works for you. Like, some people are morning people, some people aren't. That's one thing Kyler and I differ on. Like, I'm a big morning person. He'd rather work out at night because he's like, his brain's sharper, fresher, more motivated in the morning to get straight to work. And he knows he'll be motivated no matter what to go to the gym. So it's like he can go after work when he's tired. But he's like, I want to be like sharp and bright for work. And for me, it's like my workout actually sharpens me and wakes me up and gets me excited for my day, and then makes my work better. And so that's how we differ, but it's like his path to success looks different than mine. Doesn't mean we both won't succeed. And so that's something you really got to like understand. And I've had to learn to understand, because I used to be like, no, this works for me. Trust me. Like, it works. No, like, just because it works for me doesn't necessarily mean it'll work for you. But truly, again, you guys, trial and error is going to be the best way to get to where you want to be. You just have to be consistent. You have to be consistent. And you have to become that person. So it's like kind of brainwashing yourself into being like, no, I am that. Like, I've said this before, like, if you've never ran and you're scared, just tell you, like, I am a runner. I am a runner. I do run. I am a runner. Rather than being like, I think I can run. I'm going to try it. Like, I don't know. I'm not a runner though, but I'll try. You are a runner. And then you have to believe that you are these things. Again, too, like, some people who can't stick to like a certain lifestyle or like diet or something. I don't praise diets. Like, I think they don't really work. But if there's like a style of eating that you want, like carnivore is huge right now. And I think people try it and then they end up failing. But it's like, just believe that I am carnivore. I do eat carnivore. And then start associating that with your identity. And then you will become to follow that, because you'll believe that's who you are, rather than being like, oh, I'll try it. I'll give it a try. There's just like it's kind of like fake it till you make it. So it's essentially tell yourself you are it until you become it. And like, it would be hard to become something when you say you're not that, I'm just trying to say, like, if you want to become something, start telling yourself that you are that, and then follow those steps to get there. Don't be like wishy-washy, half in, half out, being like, I'll give it a try. I don't want to fully commit to it. If you want it that bad, fully commit to it and become that person, live and breathe that, do that stuff. Because that's the people who are there at that level that you want to be at. That's how they are. That's how they live. That's how they function. That is their habits or lifestyles. Like, they're making all those decisions and actions, and they have those habits engraved in their day. Like, they have to be that committed. They are that committed. So you have to be committed too. But anyway, I don't know. I just think a big way of loving yourself is pushing yourself to become the best version of you. I think I fall more in love with myself every day when I'm accomplishing more, and it's more fulfilling, because the more I accomplish, I feel like the more I can give back, and the more I can teach, and I can help, and I can lead people, and I can share my experiences. And again, same with the failure though. Like, with my failures, I can help teach you guys, and I don't know, maybe help avoid those mistakes for yourself. But I highly encourage you guys to reflect on your own like self-limiting beliefs and any limitations you have for yourself, and really, depict the difference between, is this an excuse I'm making, or factually, like, should I not be doing this? Like, is this not a good decision for me? And push yourself, because life is what you make it, baby. It really is. If you want to become somebody, become that person. You can do it. It's just going to take a lot of belief in yourself and your abilities. And so you need to begin to make that evidence, create that evidence, put yourself in positions to create those evidences to fall back on. And you'll accomplish it. I promise. I believe in you, so believe in yourself. But anyway, that's going to wrap up this episode. Thank you guys so much for listening. I love you so much. I love all of the support. You guys mean the world to me, and I will chat next week. Bye, guys.